Well, folks, in today's video, we visit the Arnprior Train Show in Arnprior, Ontario. This is the first train show they've done in Arnprior in over 2 years, and I've gotta say it was really nice to see it back once again. Unfortunately, in comparison to previous years, this was a little bit of a quieter show just because there was apparently a second train show happening in Brighton, Ontario, so a lot of the vendors and displays actually ended up heading over there. However, there was still plenty to see around here, so I did end up picking up some really cool things, and saw a lot of interesting stuff as well. So anyways, I hope you all enjoy the tour. Now, this first vendor had a whole bunch of used HO scale locomotives, including an old Pemco GG1, which I was kind of happy to see since I bought one of those way back when I was a kid. They had some Athearn Blue Box stuff, some Bachmann stuff, and they also had an unassembled kit for a Shay steam locomotive. This looks like an incredibly intricate kit, and at $152 I knew this was certainly not something that I was interested in. However, for the right buyer, I'm sure it could make for a fantastic project. They had a little bit of roundhouse N-scale rolling stock. They had a Rivarossi GG1 for $115, as well as a whole bunch of different O-scale locomotives and O-scale rolling stock. And I've got to say, I'm really happy to see the variety of different scales at this show, because some people, only model one scale. So for those sorts of people, it's nice that there's something for everyone here. This next vendor had a little bit of pretty much everything. They had some HO scale stuff, some N scale stuff, and even some railway related artifacts such as pins, matchboxes, and a flanged wheel, which was sort of a funny thing to find. In terms of HO scale stuff, the selection was not massive. They had a whole bunch of old buildings, mostly Tyco kits, and a few assembled ones. There really was not anything too out of the ordinary here. But I always love just to go through all this stuff just to be sure that there is nothing too special hiding, because you never know when you're gonna find something really interesting for your layout. They had some various tools and stuff, and I also found this Canadian Pacific Holiday Train CD, which apparently is going to be in harmony with your community. That's the 2006 edition. I'm sure there's some good music on there. They had miscellaneous pieces of HO and N-scale track. This would probably be quite handy if you were building a small section on your layout and just needed some little pieces, and the prices were all decent on everything. I always love to open up the boxes too. I would suggest if you go to a train show, if you see a box and you can't actually see what's inside, open it up and take a look, because I found this Doodlebug for only $30. That's a pretty good deal. And of course I went through the rest of the boxes. This had a dummy locomotive in it. Wasn't anything too special. I mean, it looked like an okay engine. I think it used to be a kit though, and it looks like somebody assembled it. I'm not entirely sure. And then they had an Athearn passenger car. I believe it's a Canadian National one, and an old Lionel Canadian National Alco locomotive. This vendor right here mostly had stuff related to buses, so there wasn't a whole lot that I was personally interested in. However, they did have this E8 Via locomotive, which I thought looked really sharp, and I'm sure could be a terrific addition to someone's collection. Over at the next table, they had some N-scale stuff, like this turntable, and a couple of pieces from, I think, England. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe somebody from across the pond can answer that. They had some old Bachmann stuff like this bobber caboose and an old American 440 locomotive, something kind of wild, wild west. Below this track they had a couple of European locomotives. Again, I don't know anything about these, so I can't really say a whole lot about them, but maybe somebody in the comments will know exactly what these are. Now, below this box I decided to have a look, and it kind of turned out to be more of the same stuff. A lot of just kind of various pieces of rolling stock, all very miscellaneous. Out of all the sellers at the show, this one certainly had the widest selection in terms of HO scale locomotives. I believe the same seller was at the OVR flea market a few months ago, since a lot of these locomotives looked quite familiar, But there were definitely some in here which I don't recall seeing at previous shows, so I still had a look. They also had some higher end locomotives like this Proto 2000, a few brass and DCC sound engines, and they had plenty of different HO scale passenger cars and a super wide selection of HO scale freight cars. A lot of these are just Lifelikes, Tychos, and Bachmans, so really nothing too valuable, but I still enjoy having a look through just to see if there's anything special, and the prices really didn't seem too bad. Now this right here was the final table I checked out. They had some random trees, some other little landscaping things, a whole bunch of different DVDs, some President's Choice / Mahano IHC train sets, and also a couple railway related artifacts like this Canadian Pacific plate and a Pennsylvania one. Anyways, that's going to be about it for the tour of this train show. Now I did end up buying some stuff, so we'll head on back to my place and I'll show you all exactly what it is I decided to buy. Well, now obviously back from the train show, and I have all the stuff I decided to buy. It wasn't a huge haul because, to be honest, there just wasn't a lot there that I was really all that interested in, but I still got a few things which I'm quite happy with, and I'll show you all exactly what it is. So, the first thing I decided to buy was some track cutters. They were going for, I think, $22, but they had some sort of a discount going, so I was able to buy them for $20, which is not a bad deal for a set of track cutters like these, because at a train store, I think they're going for something like 30 Canadian dollars these days. Absolutely ridiculous, but yeah, they're very high-end, and my old ones are wearing out. So yeah, that's the first thing. The second thing I decided to buy is a little more unusual. It's a locomotive, and it's in this box. I think it's by Fleischmann. It's kind of hard to read there. But anyways, this is actually an old German steam locomotive, and this was being sold for $10, supposedly in working condition. However, it needs some maintenance apparently. But yeah, I don't have a lot of German stuff, and I just figured, you know, a die-cast locomotive like this, something kind of unusual for $10, doesn't seem like too bad a deal. So that was the second thing I decided to buy. Now, the third thing is definitely the most exciting of the bunch. There was an E8, which you all would have seen earlier in the video, and I decided to pick it up. Now, they wanted $100 for it, which to me was a high price. So I asked if they would take $70 for it. They said no, but they did counteroffer with $80. So I picked this thing up for $80. I think it's a decent deal. But yeah, I just thought it was a really cool looking locomotive. So yeah, something new for the N-Scale collection. Anyways, that's everything I bought. Now, why don't we test all this stuff out, because I want to see how this thing runs, and more importantly, I want to see how this one runs. Let's go check it out. Well, it's time to see if this thing actually works or not. Let's set her up on the track. Again, the seller did claim that this thing runs, but does it actually? Apparently so. Oh, it doesn't seem half bad. Fairly smooth. Maybe we could use a little bit of oil, but yeah, this thing is fine. Oh, there. Yeah, it is stuttering a little bit, but what's important is that the current draw is in check, so we know the motor is at least in decent shape. So yeah, overall for 10 Canadian dollars, I do not think that that is a bad purchase. Now, let's go check out that Kato E8. Well, here it is outside the box. It's a nice looking locomotive. I can't say it's the most detailed engine I've ever seen, but more importantly, let's see how it runs. I'm really hoping it can handle this radius of track. I didn't even think about that when I bought it, but anyway, let's give it some power here and see how it goes. Well, it does in fact run. It's pretty decent. Looks like it has a working headlight, unfortunately. Let's see if we got reverse. Yeah, it doesn't seem like a bad engine. I wish the light worked on the front, but overall not a bad purchase in my opinion. Well, folks, that's going to be about it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. I certainly had a terrific time at the train show. It was just absolutely great to see all the different displays people had, see all the different things people had for sale, you know, actually buy a couple things. And above all of that, it was really amazing getting to meet 10 different subscribers of this channel. I was not at all expecting that, so it was, you know, just amazing to actually meet some of the people who have seen some of these videos before and interact with them and, you know, just chat about trains for a while. It's happened before, you know, where I've encountered somebody who's seen the channel, but never so many at once, so that was just awesome. Anyways, I think that about concludes the video. Thank you all so much for watching.